Hi everyone, it's Sid from Cool Moviegram. Hope you're well, hope you're safe. Today, a video I'm going to be doing about 5 books which I think would make brilliant or really good films if they were adapted for the big screen. As we know, some of the best films ever made have been based on classic pieces of literature. I mean, films such as The Godfather by Coppola was based on Mario Puzo's acclaimed bestseller. You have the American Psycho has been adapted. Many of Stephen King's novels have been turned into some classic films. Wow, there's so many. It's like the list is endless. I mean, literature itself sometimes can make for a great source material for cinematic art, in terms of a narrative. And I do love reading. I mean, I've got quite a lot of books. So over here, I have 5 books which I think that would make great movies. The first book is going to be Revival, which is by Stephen King. Now, this one itself is about a young boy named Jamie Morton, who kind of looks up to his local pastor, who's kind of a youngish guy and has his own family. Set in the 60s to start off with, where once kind of like getting to know his pastor, who actually has like this fascination with science and electricity. And after a personal tragedy strikes in the pastor's life, Charles Jacobs decides to leave the town and eventually abandon his faith. And many years later, you would see that, in some decades later, Jamie is actually kind of living a lifestyle of like recovering from drugs and alcohol and failed rock and roll career. But then also at the same time, you get to see in this novel where there's dream sequences that the protagonist has, which kind of have like a very dark, bleak, supernatural kind of feel to them. And honestly, I thought this is possibly one of like Stephen King's best novels in years. I mean, a lot of the stuff he's recently written has actually been a lot of crime thriller stuff, and this kind of was a return to like kind of the supernatural horror element. And it could make a great series, maybe on Netflix or Amazon Prime as such, or on a streaming platform, or even HBO. But overall, this book could make for if given to the right director and the right screenwriter, this could make a brilliant film, definitely. And the next one is not a very well known book called Finders, Keepers, Killers by Anthony Tobias. And this was actually inspired by a true story in 1993, where 2 petty thieves from Armenia, sent by the KGB to London to actually ruin and stop an arms deal for Chechnya, which had broken away from the USSR. But of course, everything goes wrong. Dead bodies pile up, and people are trying to kind of stop an international crisis from happening. And this was actually based on a true story. So I think this itself, again, would make for a really interesting kind of thriller, maybe with a bit of elements of dark humor, but because it's based on a true story as well, it would be even more fascinating. I mean, it was a great read. I enjoyed reading this book. It was really good. And, it was quite riveting. And when you learn that it's actually based on a true story, you think, wow, kind of crazy. Now, the next one is Downriver, one of my favorite authors of recent years, John Hart. I mean, of course, they've won. This is an award-winning book. I mean, one of the best crime thrillers. Of course, it's about set in North Carolina, where a man named Adam Chase, who's from a wealthy family, he was acquitted of a murder, but people in his town thought he was guilty. He just got away with it because of having a rich and powerful a father. But then, of course, he has a dark history of violence, and then things kind of unravel. It's when someone's actually attacked in town, and all the fingers are pointing towards him. He has to kind of prove his innocence and also find out who the real culprit is. This would actually make for a great whodunit. I mean, in terms of kind of like dark, bleak thrillers, especially set like in the South, I think this would make for a great movie. Again, just needs to be given to the right screenwriter and the right director. Definitely, I would love to see this. I mean, he's a great author. I would say if you like stuff like especially John Grisham type of novels, you'd enjoy this. This is very gritty, very fast paced, and also just rich, detailed characters. An outstanding, talented writer, and an outstandingly amazing book. Then, we have The Thousand Emperors by Danny Gibson. Now, of course, he is one of the, I would say, one of the best modern day authors in terms of science fiction. It's a dark one. It's about an auditor who finally gets to bring in a well-known terrorist, but then finds out there's a lot more going on with the whole setting. Now, this book itself is, as the cover kind of shows, it's a very visceral type of novel. It's very kind of like, set in a very kind of advanced future, but then there's all these different kind of like things of technology. I could just imagine reading some of the passages in this book that they would actually make for a great novel. I mean, this is actually part of this Shoals Final Days, part of a Shoals series, which Gary Gibson, who's a Scottish author, who's known for writing science fiction novels, and he actually makes for great movies. His stuff is great for, like, I would say, if adapted by the right director and also the right studio and the right budget. I mean, this could be a great big budget blockbuster. I mean, as long as they keep in the dark, detailed violence. It's not really light-hearted stuff. Kind of like dark, grown-up, violent science fiction noir type of feel to it as well. But definitely, I would love to see this made as a film. And then finally, we have probably one of the most controversial books I've read, and it's called Pygmy by Chuck Palahniuk. Of course, Chuck Palahniuk's work has previously been adapted for the big screen, most notably David Fincher's Fight Club and also the movie Choke. I mean, his novels are very tongue-in-cheek, very just wrong in many different ways. And this one itself is it's about like a foreign exchange student who's actually part of from a totalitarian state, which nobody really knows what it is. And of course, it's about he's actually planning to overthrow the government and also start like a revolution. But again, this full of like absolute madness, tongue in cheek, and like just absolutely batshit insane, crazy stuff going on. And I would say definitely this would make for maybe a controversial but amazing film. I mean, you never know. Maybe David Fincher could pick this one up as well. I mean, I would love it. Definitely, this would be a great film. That was my 5 picks. Now, any of you guys who actually have read quite a lot of books, just let me know. Which ones would you think would make for great films? Which books do you think would make for maybe a good movie or a great series? Let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment, and also follow me on Instagram. This was Sid signing out. See you on the next video.